So we've already talked a whole lot about light energy and what light energy can do and how it moves and what kinds of needs we use light energy for. Today we're going to move on to a new kind of energy, which is very close to light. Lots of them come from the same sources. Today's energy we're going to learn about is heat energy. So let's take a look at our digital lesson.
Welcome to the lesson, What are some heat sources? In this lesson, we're going to look at heat, what it is, how it's measured, and how it's produced. When it's cold outside, wearing a fuzzy hat and a scarf helps keep you warm. The vocabulary words for this lesson are heat and temperature. Click each word to find out more about it.
I'm not going to click these words today because I think these are words we're pretty familiar with already. So let's move on.
Look at these two containers. What do you think the dots are? They represent tiny particles of water. What do you notice about the particles? They are moving. Are the particles in one container moving faster than the ones in the other? What do you think that means?
Take a look.
Look at the thermometers of each container. Which container is warmer? It's the one on the right. The particles are moving faster there too. So, the faster the particles of a material like water are moving, the warmer that material is. Here are some important points about heat. Let's see if you can match these statements with the corresponding images. Drag the correct statements to the images.
Okay, so heat can be produced by burning material or rubbing objects together. All right, do you see heat being produced in a certain way? Over here, let's keep reading all of them and we'll come back and match them up. Heat is energy that moves from warmer areas to cooler areas. Many objects that produce light also produce heat. And temperature is a measure of how hot or cold something is. So I think this is definitely going to go with the thermometer. Okay. Objects that are producing light and also producing heat, I think is going to go with the lava from the volcano. Let's see. Yes, I wasn't sure about that one. Okay. And heat can be produced by burning material or by rubbing objects together. And what is this guy going to do? He's pretty cold. And what do you do with your hands when you're really, really, really cold? I rub them together to create heat. In fact, do that for a second. Rub your hands first. Don't do it. Feel your hands. Excuse me. Feel the temperature of your hands. Now rub your hands together for a second. And then feel. Do you feel the warmth? You produced heat. Yes. Okay. I was going to be really embarrassed if that was wrong. I think these descriptions are a little vague. So heat is energy that moves from warmer areas to cooler areas.
Well done! You'll learn more about each of these points during this lesson. Heat is often on the move. It always goes from warmer areas to cooler areas. The only time that heat doesn't move from one object to another is when they're the same temperature. Click the picture on the top left to find out more. Notice that the flame of the candle is producing light. It is also producing heat. The temperature of the flame is higher than the air temperature. Heat moves from the candle to the air surrounding it. You can see that the air is about 27 degrees Celsius near the candle flame.
Okay, but they put a clock up here so we can see the time changing, I think. Let's see. Right now it is, well, it's kind of hard to tell which one's the hour and which one's the minute hand. It's either 10:10. I think it's 10:10. Let's see what they do now.
Air farther from the candle flame is at a lower temperature.
No, never mind. They don't want to look at the clock at all. Okay, so did you see how it changed? As you moved the thermometer out, the temperature went down because it's not warming up as far.
After about 15 minutes, the air throughout the room is warmer.
There's the clock.
Heat has been transferred from the candle flame to the surrounding air.
So it takes a little bit, but the candle can warm the heat, can actually heat up and warm the air around the candle. It just takes a minute for the heat to travel through the air.
What do you think happens as the stick rubs against the log? Here's a hint. It's the same thing that happens when you rub your hands together on a cold day. Your hands get warmer, and so does the stick.
Okay, did you see how that worked? I want to watch the whole thing again. So he's using, let me show you me. He's using his hands at the top of the stick to turn the stick, and then the bottom of the stick is rubbing against the log as it turns. So watch that again.
What do you think happens as the stick rubs against the log? Here's a hint.
Do you see the smoke being
It's
caused?
the same thing that happens when you rub your hands together on a cold day. Your hands get warmer, and so does the stick.
All right, so he's producing heat by rubbing the stick against the log. Cool.
How can we use objects that give off light? To bake a cake, of course. Click the picture to discover more. Have you seen toy ovens that can bake a cake? They use a light bulb to do the job. How is that possible? Before the light bulb goes on, the temperature inside the oven is the same as that in the
room. It wanted to go on without us, okay?
Once the light bulb is on, things start to happen. The oven warms up. Its temperature rises to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 180 degrees Celsius. The light bulb does more than shine inside the oven. It also gives off heat, enough to bake the cake. Which direction do you think the heat will move in this image? Click your answer.
Okay, remember that heat always goes from the warmer temperature to the colder temperature. It travels away from the heat, or it travels away from the warmth to warm up everything around it. So is it going to go from the cool air to the cool spoon? That doesn't make sense, does it? Is it going to go from the warm tea to the cool spoon? Maybe. From the cool spoon to the warm tea, will heat travel from the cold to the hot? Nope, that's the wrong direction. What about from the warm tea to the already warm tea bag? If they're already the same temperature, the heat's not going to travel one way or the other. It's going to stay right there. So the only answer is it's going to go from the already warm tea to the cool spoon to warm up the spoon.
You got it! The heat will move from the warm tea to the cool spoon. That's because heat moves from warmer objects to cooler objects. You've learned about some heat sources in this lesson. But what about the sun? Do you think the sun gives off light only? Click yes or no.
Does the sun just give off light? No.
You're right. Think about what it's like on a sunny day. Is it bright and hot or just bright? The sun gives off both light and heat. You've learned a lot about heat. Before we finish, let's take a quick look at the main points you covered. Heat is a type of energy. Temperature measures how hot or cold something is. Heat moves from hot areas to cold areas. Friction produces heat. Objects that give off light, such as the sun and light bulbs, often give off heat. Now that you've finished this lesson, if you wish, you can go back and review any part of the lesson again.
All right, so that is heat. And you guys already learned a whole lot about heat in your science in the past grade levels. And I know that you guys are already familiar. You know what makes things warmer and cooler. You've learned that, I think. And some of that has been just from your own knowledge. You guys have some schema. Remember that word? Schema is it's the knowledge that you bring to the lesson. You guys brought a lot. You already have schema already made up about heat because you've experienced heat, right? You know that on a sunny day, it's also warm outside. So I wanted to give you another example, and that is of our tower garden. You see we've got some great lettuce growing here, and we've got some cantaloupe blooms right here that I'm hoping produce some fruit. I'm going to have to do some hand pollination. It's a little fancier of a term I'm ready to explain today. But what I wanted to show you was the lights, okay? So these lights, they are very bright, and it's hard to show you on a computer just how bright they are, but they aren't just bright. They do give off light, but they also give off heat. Now, these are protected, so they have a little plastic shield on it, so it's not burning me, okay? Not now. Some light bulbs you can't touch without burning you, so you never want to touch light bulb with your hands. But these are specially made lights that are safe to touch, but I want you to notice that, and you can't see this, so you're gonna have to trust me. But when I touch this part of the light right here with my hands, okay, with my fingers, it warms up my fingers. In fact, so much that my fingers now are warm on my face. That gets even warmer than rubbing my hands together. And so the lights for my tower garden are a source of heat as well as light. And plants need both, okay? All right, that's our, oh, and they just turned off because they're on a timer. You'll notice I also have some red spectrum lights that are a little bit different. I'll turn over so you can see. Oh, that one's not on. Oops. There we go. Their light comes in all different spectrums, like we learned with the rainbow color spectrum. And plants that are fruiting plants, like my cantaloupe here, do better when they have red spectrum lights as well as white. So anyway, I just wanted to give you that little extra tidbit.